This is a Headgum podcast.
Robby.
Where do you want me to sit?
Where do you want to sit? Couch or chair?
Like this.
Do it.
I feel like, it's still traditional.
I give
You're the
everybody.
man.
I give everybody the option.
Okay.
And
I come in hot if you want to just hit record. I know we all have things going on. I've never met you.
And I'm also going to tell you.
Yeah.
And apologize for
Thank you.
And also to.
Thank you, please.
I'm in the exact same clothes I was wearing yesterday.
It's really so embarrassing.
Yeah, because I did a.
What did you do? You slept at a girl's house?
And yesterday was crazy chaotic. It's just me and my daughter and a puppy, and I got to get her ready for school. Probably sweaty, so I'll leave my hat on.
For school?
For school, yeah.
Your daughter?
The puppy. Yes, my daughter.
No, because I'm like, when is not school out? Like, I don't know if they changed the summer or what they did.
No, I think it's...
I wouldn't assume school for a puppy.
No, I think...
Do I need these, Emma?
No, you do not. No. I'm jealous of your coffee, by the way. Hint, hint.
Yeah,
hint,
look how
hint,
he...
please.
Look,
Yes,
instead of asking, he's
Okay.
passive-aggressive. You see how he says that? He wishes he had a coffee. Which means, bitch.
No,
coffee.
I didn't say that.
No,
I said
but he could have. It would have been the same thing had he said that.
No,
it wouldn't. We both understand what that was.
No, it wouldn't. I said I wish. That's why I said hint, 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 because
You
it wasn't
took one of those from the guys outside the subway.
I actually doubled back. So because I saw out of the corner of my eye. Usually, just intuitively, I
That's
take
what I'm
take a
saying.
step
Yeah.
aside, right? And I don't engage.
No, they got you good.
But but then as I registered Journey Church, and then I was like, oh, I'll see what they're getting. I'll see.
Oh, it's a church. Yeah,
it's a church. So
I knew it was a church because my mother is Jews for Jesus now, and people go, "Why is she Jews for Jesus?" I grew up a Hasidic Jew originally, and then we were kind of secular, and then my mother found God. But my mother grew up with a very, very close relationship with her father. Then she married my father, so she lived under a man in a very kind of patriarchal type of way.
Oh, I'm familiar.
And then my father, they divorced, and then her father died, and now she found Jesus, so she has a new daddy, and she loves it. But people go like, how did she get into that? I said, my mother, like if you're at the end of an escalator and you have a flyer, she will take it, she will read it, she's going to give you $30 a month.
Wow. Now there's something I want to go back to something you said about that you were Hasidic and then you were kind of secular. So what is that?
Well, we were still pretty conservative. I was kosher till 19, like my version of
so it's
more
hardly
secular.
Yeah.
Well, it's like what Edelman would claim Orthodox is, but they maybe go to shul on the holidays. And you can bleep his name.
Okay, so
I'm saying that we went from ultra-orthodox
to like reformed.
No, to probably orthodox.
So way far away from secular, which is
me secular because. Yeah, no, I guess my version of secular.
You were so extreme. That to just take away some of that extreme craziness made
we
you
were still
feel...
kosher, separate kitchens. We did all the holidays crazy.
You were that kosher? You had separate kitchens?
Yeah. Well, separate sides of the kitchen. Milk plates, fleishik plates, milk and meat.
My grandmom had the double sinks and the separate soaps.
Yeah, we had separate
and did
everything.
not keep kosher.
We kept kosher, strictly kosher, to the point if a knife touched something unkosher, you were bearing the knife and unbearing. I mean, we really did, all of our traditions we did were still Hasidic.
Thank you very much.
But I went to a conservative Jewish school, mixed school, boys and girls, but I was always the most religious kid. Even like post not being Orthodox, even in that what I would consider a secular school, which is actually conservative school, I was the most religious kid. But the fact that you were able
to mix and there were boys and girls in the same thing.
This is my version of secular.
Did kids have access to the internet?
I'm on the cusp of that. We were really poor. The internet was happening. We got a computer in the house downstairs. My father was kind of estranged from us at that point, but Dell and Gateway were the big Apple versus Mac. When I was a really little kid, and I remember we got a call saying, "Dude, you're getting a Dell," and it was my dad calling, like the commercial. And this is a Hasidic guy who's like, knows this. And so we got a computer, but it was, we were really behind on a lot of that stuff.
I'm so fascinated by, and I want to expand fascinated. I'm amused by, confused, fascinated, everything under the umbrella of fascination with Hasidic Jews or Haredi or Satmar or any of those. It's so, because to me, and this may be offensive, but I don't care really.
Same.
It's so silly, and silly's the best word I can say for the costumes and the rituals that are based on fantasy and
Why is it based on fantasy?
Because they're not applicable. They're not wave
the Gragger?
No, the chicken. When you
chorus.
So when you wave the chicken, it's superstition, I guess. And
I'm extremely superstitious, and it's kept with me.
Well, you would have to be if you're religious.
Yeah, there's a very fine line between, I have diagnosed OCD now, but I also would say the religion is OCD, the way that I put on my shoes in the morning and put the right shoe on.
Absolutely.
For the left
Certainly
shoe
can
because,
contribute. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I kiss the, somebody asked me, like, am I still religious? Gabby, my girlfriend, says I'm the most religious person she ever met. I consider myself completely secular. But of course, yes, she's like, you kiss the you have the mezuzahs. I said, well, babe, I have a mezuzah on the door. I'm not an animal. I mean, there's certain things, like.
I'm civilized, for Christ's sake.
I mean, come on.
Give me 1 second while I.
Yes, no, exactly. But I don't think it's
I'm not
silly.
a superstitious idiot. Please hold for 1 second while I.
But I don't think it's necessarily. I understand what you're saying, but I also think it would be silly to think that there isn't a spiritual. Like, I think there's nothing I don't believe in. People, men particular, like to ask me, what about aliens? Sure, of course, first of all, yes. I don't really care, but people ask me, believe in ghosts? I said, there's nothing I don't believe in because it's as miraculous that I'm here on this planet. I'm not plugged into the wall. I don't have batteries. I find that as miraculous that there would be an afterlife or not an afterlife or a million different versions of anything that could happen. I really am not privy to know what is going on.
Yes, but you have a brain, you have a sharp...
But it's extremely small relative to the universe.
So what?
No, I understand. So I'm not, I would say that being as defined that there's nothing, like saying there's no God is as stupid as saying there is a God. I have no, I have no allegiance to either which version.
That sounds hard to believe, knowing what little I know of you in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of what you've been saying. I think you do have a preference, and that is a belief in God.
Well, yeah, but I don't define God as a one thing. I think it's more of an energy. Like, I think just because we can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Just like when they discovered oxygen or electricity, or back when, you can't see what's here, but there's a ton going on right here in the air, and so I do believe that it's wholly possible that plants are connected to that they can communicate in ways we don't know, and then I can extrapolate that to other things, that maybe there are vibes or energies, just like electricity, just like gravity, that you don't see, that we haven't yet discovered, or maybe can never know of. So I'm wholly I think my spirituality comes from not knowing, from just being, I'm just open.
And you're in awe of everything that you've just described.
Yeah, I think it's
nature and
I think it's really cool how it all runs, that like without a battery, I guess that the sun grows this plant and the water comes up from the roots. Like the whole thing just feels really cool. And I like being a part of it and not separate from it.
Okay.
That's kind of, and Judaism is very much about not knowing. I think, people think that, we don't have hell and we don't have this. It's not that we don't have heaven and we don't have hell. We simply say we don't know. What we do know.
The belief and the definition of heaven and hell have changed and swung back and forth over the course of history as Jewish people needed to have a sense of judgment, vindication, punishment for, whether it was the Spanish Inquisition or Hitler or whatever. So the concept of heaven and hell have changed.
But within Judaism, you're saying?
Yes, yeah.
What happened with the Spanish Inquisition that you're suggesting?
There's a place for those people and,
but
the pogroms.
No, but Jews don't think that anybody is going to hell specifically.
They think that there is, and they have thought this, and it's changed.
Maybe.
It has.
No, I hear that. I think there's like a very much questioning side to the what I'm talking about, the ultra-orthodox of a not knowing. I'm sure it could change and has changed, and I've seen it change in my own life when I was a kid too, from Schneerson being our Rebbe to him dying, and I've seen massive changes within.
He's coming back any second now.
But I do think that part of Judaism is an extreme Judaism. I'm calling it extreme because it is. I'm with you. This idea that we don't know what we do know for sure. And we might speculate that there's probably, or, maybe people feel on that spectrum, but I know it's probably very different from family to family. But is that we don't know. What we do know is this experience here. So here's some commandments to help you live as amicably as you can here. Well, all we know is what we know. So we can't necessarily speculate. I'm sure there's people who speculate more than others. And for me, God, I hesitate to say God. I just feel like a connection. Like for me, love and these types of forces are so powerful and they feel spiritual to me. Yeah,
I'm not judging that, denigrating that, or at all. I mean,
I hear you.
A lot of people feel similar, and I think it's hard to reconcile the desire and the love and the search for meaning, and an explanation. Sorry, God put something in my eye to distract me. An explanation for all these things that are quote unquote miraculous or unfair.
I don't think there's a God like puppeteering or anything. I don't think. I think it's more of like we're all part of this big thing. I don't think there's like a I really don't believe in.
Well,
everything has a reason or concepts like that. Yeah.
The Old Testament, which is, I believe there are a couple of quotes that are in the Torah, and the concepts therein you don't necessarily believe in them.
No, and I do think that everything must evolve for the times now. I think about that politically speaking too, with the Constitution, and people are so up in arms about changing the Constitution when we have amendments, which literally means change.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we, we'll make an amendment, but then when we want another change, well, you can't change it. People don't even know that the word amendment means a change. It's really, really hysterical to me. And then when I think about the Constitution and when it was written, you would think that if women were a part of that, or Black people were a part of that, but Black women or any women were a part of writing the Constitution, there'd be something there about childcare. There would be something there about the family, So if that was their role back then and continues to be predominantly, but I'm just saying, like, yes, anything I think must change with the people. I'm somebody who's so of the people, for the people. Let's continue to be with the people. Nothing else for me trumps how people are living and what people require now.
Well, I'm with you on that. I am not religious. But I also don't need a book to tell me what right and wrong is, and I don't need.
But some people do. I'll give you an example of my brother, who's he suffered a lot emotionally. You know, the way that my family broke up was kind of, some of us got out, you know, relatively scratch-free, but some didn't. And I think my brother really struggled not having a father.
Before you continue, can you just sort of clarify what get out means?
We were ultra-orthodox Jews, and then my mother took the 10 of us, her 10 kids, and we left the community and moved up to Montreal, her native Montreal, where I then grew up.
Was she able to get a get?
She was, yes.
So your dad was okay with that? He found
somebody new to marry and gave her the get. This was years later. We were already in Montreal.
If you don't know, a get is permission to get divorced in that community.
Right. And we, and there's permissions.
And you get it from the men.
Yeah, of course.
As it should be.
I agree. Scissor me.
Okay.
There we go.
That's the new thing? I haven't seen that.
I'm bringing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Scissor me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's great.
I'm doing it.
Trademark that shit.
Literally.
Scissor me.
So, my brother, anyway, we grew up and then we became really secular. You know, none of us were kosher or whatever. My brother was really, lost a kid and had all this really awful things happen to him. And he was very depressed. My older brother.
How many kids in the family?
10.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, one of my older brothers.
Oh, my Lord.
And he just like really went through it. And he's always been so hardworking and just, you know, he works security in a mall and he's always done his thing, kept an apartment, helps my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is just one of those, like, he just wants to work. He wants to feed his cat. He wants to help my mother.
Mm-hmm.
That's his life. He stopped dating after this, nothing. But he had severe depression. He went on some, you know, he's now medicated good and whatever. But he found his way back to Orthodox Judaism, not to the level that we were, but he got a job with the rabbi. They keep him really, he has to get up in the morning. He prays. It gives him a regiment. He's like so much like it was very hard to see him for years, and sometimes he doesn't 100% believe, but he's part of a community and he likes the structure. It's been really good for him to have discipline in a weird way.
Sure.
And he gets up in the morning. He has to go to he has to do certain things. He's responsible for these things. And that gives him it really gives him a structure so I don't mind if things aren't hurting people or things like that. And I understand that people can believe different things than I believe. People tend to vary. And so I don't say anything in a condescending fashion like, oh, because of course it's like this. It's just your beliefs are as bizarre to people as their beliefs are to you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And your girlfriend is not religious.
No, but she's I pray at night. It's a whether I'm praying, it's just a recap. For me, prayer is almost like a meditation, just to take 5 seconds to stop and think, which I find this part of society doesn't really let you do nothing. You're on your phone, whatever. It's like, I did a lot of nothing growing up, zero. We were bored for hours.
Yeah.
Just nothing going on. So I just was always thinking. And I miss that type of like free time or just to think and prayer. But then now she goes, okay, you can be part of it. So, no, my girlfriend is Mexican, American, and
did she grow up Catholic?
They didn't. Her father is military, so they didn't do much. But yes, generically Catholic, but not practicing.
Right. Well, there's I find more similarities between like Roman Catholicism and Orthodox Judaism than other religions. They're not. I mean, they believe different things, but they're the regimen and the
a little bit. I would say that Orthodox Judaism and Islam are closest to me.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would, because Catholicism has such a hierarchy, and we really don't. Catholicism is very about hierarchy, and Orthodox Judaism has maybe one rabbi or a few rabbis, but really it's it's each family is led by their own
that's a
father.
good point. That's a
or it's like of the community. The
Yes.
leaders come up themselves, but based on how many families trust this family. It's very like it's very democratic in the way that I feel people become leaders. Like there were so many people on our block, like they're just a respected family. Like you could go and talk, like they're not necessarily an overt leader. They don't have a title, but it's just people think they're wise or they've helped a family through something. So I think Catholicism is very not about that. There's a way to do things a lot more.
I see your point.
Versus more of the community aspect that Judaism and Islam have is very like of the people still. Orthodox Judaism at least, or regular.
I guess I was thinking more of, and this just points out my ignorance of Islam compared to Catholicism, but more of the regimentation of what you need to do in the service of
both
religion.
those religions have more of what you need to do. Judaism has none what you need to do something. There's a concept of getting higher. You can always be better, but there isn't a concept of not like even within the families of where there were families who kept everything, and there were families who had a TV downstairs. Like everybody still interpreted even an ultra-orthodox agenda to their own specificities, and that happens in Judaism, in Reform, in Conservative. You'll see that some Jews keep kosher in the house, some don't, or things like that. That also exists, people can't believe, in an Orthodox setting. The changes are less dramatic, I think, to most people, but to me, growing up, for instance, girls who wore short socks versus long socks was a big difference. Some families were...
Well, short socks are fucking hot.
Yeah, no. So
Come on.
In some families, you could wear socks, and others you still had to wear long socks.
Right.
But it's still up to interpretation or how you feel comfortable. So... versus Catholicism is like you have to say this amount of things to get into this. It's very punishment.
Right.
Jews have such low numbers because we have no punishment. If that's the case, nothing. You'll never have a rabbi say you must do this to do this. It just we don't. So nobody's converting.
What do you mean? Jews have low numbers because there's no punishment.
It's not that scary not to be Jewish. We're not saying if you're not Jewish, you're going to hell, for instance, versus Catholics.
Right.
If you don't take Jesus as your savior, you're going to hell.
Well,
so a lot of people take Jesus because they're afraid
it's completely,
of this thing.
The whole thing is fear-based.
Yeah.
And, wildly manipulative, blatantly.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the two religions and the only two really that are associated with guilt and are linked are Catholicism and Judaism, and except the guilt in Judaism, there's no such term as a self-hating, self-loathing Catholic. It's self-loathing Jew, self-hating Jew.
Yeah.
And that's just because you've turned your back on your people and all the troubles that they've gone through for you. And it's the guilt is about, how dare you turn your back on your people. And with Catholicism, the guilt is this wonderful man gave us his only son, and he did these wonderful things for you, and now you're going to go to hell if you don't.
It's really interesting because I use religious speak to almost like my mother. She's Jews for Jesus now, so she wasn't homophobic when I came out because we were living my version of secularism. But then she found Jesus at the end of an escalator with this lady who gave her a pound. She did what you did. It's a very slippery slope. That's why I never talk,
That's and you refused to take the Costco soft and
exactly.
chewy granola bar.
Exactly.
One bite and you're hooked.
It's insane. And they would get my mother with that. I mean, I've seen it with Les. She's about due for another religion. I'm hoping Buddhism or someone's got a pamphlet. I mean, she's just...
You should set it up. You
No,
should
I know.
go find out which escalator is her favorite.
Literally. The
and
Hare Krishnas.
pay somebody at the bottom. Make up your own pamphlet. Make up a religion. Pretend that it's
I
like
know.
global.
Yeah.
And it's
Jesus
on its
loves
way up.
gays. Wow. So my mother is now very into Jesus, but Jewish. She's a Jews for Jesus. Very
Makes no
intense.
sense.
I mean,
none
nothing
of it
makes sense and
to me.
everything makes sense. It depends
Oh,
what you're...
come on. That's intellectually, that's...
No, seriously. I mean, to her, it
Nothing
makes sense.
and everything makes sense.
I mean, to her, she can make sense of it.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's really in
Well,
the
that's
eye
the beauty of
life.
of like filtering religion and knowing its history and knowing its evolution and changes and all that, and filtering it through a modern brain that believes in, inherently in your heart, equality and not being homophobic, not being racist and all that. And you have to filter and you have to go through these wild machinations in your brain to make things make sense, because they don't. They're contradictory.
Yeah, no, I see that, obviously. So Jesus to me sounds good, sounds great. Judaism doesn't not have Jesus. Yeshua was a good man. We just don't recognize any one person as God or not God. We don't know what God is. We don't have a defined thing for a God. So we think God is probably, and I say probably, goodness in all of us. God is everywhere in the Jewish faith. God is what's love, what's miraculous, we don't have a defined. It's not to say there isn't, that Jesus isn't God. We literally don't know. But we do think he's a good man, and Yeshua is a good figure. We study we don't have saints. We don't have, even Moses, he was a leader, he wasn't a saint. Nobody is godly any more than another person. So my mother, and Jesus loves everyone, right? Which I think Jesus sounds like a great dude. So when I was on the phone with my mother said, I couldn't come to any kind of a gay wedding. I said, Ma, first of all, you're assuming you're invited. So let's just take that out. And then after I said, but anyway, I said, Jesus loves me so much. And she goes, really? And I go, yeah, I just know Jesus loves me so much, just the way I am. And she goes, how do you know that? You have a relationship? I said, of course. Would Jesus hate? Do you think Jesus would say he hated me? No. I said, he just knows how to love, and he loves me. And she goes, you're right. It actually works to
a little logic.
Yeah, because it's okay, so he loves. Only Jesus will save me. I do have my own relationship with me. I think we could talk it out. You may not, but my relationship with Jesus is my relationship with Jesus. You don't get to be a part of it. And she was like, so
it's like
it's
when
calmed
they go, they're little lighthearted compendiums of questions that kids ask nuns and stuff like that. And they're always treated, if God made everything, why is they're always treated like these are chill questions from children, but they're fucking right. And those kids have a point, because it makes no fucking sense. And it's contradictory. As you just explained, you can walk your mom, who rigidly felt one way 60 seconds before you started talking to her, and then completely changed her mind 180 degrees.
But she lay off
the point is
the
you
judging.
put the thing in her head. And it always bothered me, those things that's a child's question to the priest. And
we had a thing in kindergarten where we could ask the rabbi anything. And the rabbi was our principal. It was an all-girls school. I maybe was 4 or 5 years old. I had beautiful long red hair when I was a girl. And my hair was a really defining part of me. I got a lot of compliments on it. Teachers played with my hair. I always had beautiful hair. By the way, I still do, but you have to be privy to it now.
Covered up with a wig.
Yeah. So I was asking about the sheitel, the wig. So he came to the class. It was literally a chance. Any girl, we could all ask a question. So I asked a question. I said I had long red hair. And I said, would I be able to cut off my own hair and make a wig of my hair? Because there's real hair wigs, which rich Jews had.
Yeah.
They were like $3,000 or something, but they were
Yep.
made of real hair, and you knew richer women because they had nicer wigs and stuff like that. And I got kicked it was like a chutzpahdik question to ask, like, oh my God, I thought it was ask. Like, it was like, ask the rabbi anything.
Yeah.
And he was
And
like,
it makes perfect fucking sense, by the way.
Yeah, like,
You can berate a
I never
child.
got to hear the halachic answer to, can I cut my own hair and make a wig of it?
I have a whole a bit. I don't know if you're familiar with my stand-up, and I want to talk about your stand-up in a second. But I have a whole thing about tricking God, about different religions and how they trick God, and they come up with tricks. And Orthodox Jews, the idea of getting around the edicts that.
The loopholes are very big, but also I would say that is almost the root. Religion, and particularly probably Judaism, is the root of law. Law is all about loopholes. The reason that rich people don't pay any taxes is all loopholes. It's all loopholes.
That's a human construct. The loopholes were things that human beings figured out to because like I want to have toilet paper on Sunday.
Yeah.
On the Sabbath, so I need to pre-tear it because I can't tear anything. Which is absurd. It sounds like
law, it's like, okay, so I want to get paid. What I'll do is I'll set up this shell corporation. It won't be me. It'll be, there's loopholes the same way.
Okay, but that doesn't.
It's a religion in this country, capitalism.
Okay, well, this is veering.
It's veering, but I veer.
Okay.
First of all,
but it's
I
not
veer.
Okay, we can talk about that, but
I think it's as criminal and as crazy. In fact, I think it's more oppressive to people than people tearing their own toilet paper.
Yeah, but that's not that's apples and oranges.
Not to me. It's all the same
Robby,
way that people find loopholes. If one person's finding a loophole here, they're finding humans love loopholes.
Yeah, for a reason, because a lot of the laws are ridiculous. Now, I think the laws against money laundering are smart. They're fairly new. I've only had them for 40 plus years.
Yeah, but there's loopholes to them.
Yes, I'm not disagreeing with you.
And I also think there's a difference that I think there's an intention to living with some of the religious laws that you find are ridiculous. I think what we would call mindfulness, I grew up with a lot of. For instance, when I start writing on a page based on Dalet, it means just like, oh my God, I get to write, that my hands work, that I work. It just takes a second in everything we do to recognize being a part of it and doing something.
Okay, but my point is most people, I'd say the vast majority of them, of Orthodox Jews, to use the example that we're talking about, want to use toilet paper on the Sabbath. So that you can't tear anything, so you pre-tear. So you want to be able to pay, you want to use things that require electricity, so you need somebody to come and turn on the thing that requires electricity. They do that because they want to, because they enjoy these things. And they found the loophole to a thing that doesn't make a whole... ton of sense. That's
to
all.
You. But to them, it makes sense. I think making sense is relative. Makes sense.
So you think, perhaps,
yes,
and I don't
think there's one way of making sense.
So you're saying, perhaps God, we have these laws, we have these rules, not me, but these laws, and then God is kind of pleased that people figured it out.
I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm saying people can live however they want to live.
I'm not saying
with whatever. No, but they might like that sort of structure. They might believe that would be okay for me. Just like in this society, we live with our own laws. A man must ask the girl out first. I find it pathetic if otherwise. I think a guy has to pay on the first date. I find it unacceptable otherwise. I mean, I have a lot of laws that I kind of live by that are just because they make me, it's just, that's the way.
Okay, but there's a law. Nobody's going to get penalized if they don't.
I'll tell you they will. They're not sleeping with that girl. I'll tell you they're going to be penalized, quite literally.
All right. Hey, now, fuck, what was I going to say? Oh, an Erev. All right.
Yeah.
Explain that one to me.
Okay, the Erev is just,
and for
it's
people
just
who don't know, if you
Yeah, I'll explain it.
All right.
Explain it to me, the man. For people who don't know.
No, I meant
I'm about to explain. You see this, Emma? I'm about to explain it. So an Arab. So basically,
happening.
we have a lot of restrictions on Sabbath. The restrictions are really
Why'd you do air quotes?
because I think it's unrestrictions for them. They believe, it's more of a freedom. It's just really trying to mindfully do as least as possible to rest. So you shouldn't be like even picking up, like just shut up, just leave it there, clean it tomorrow. Whatever it is just they're trying to get you into full freedom. Like really don't do anything, be bored today, eat today, but don't even cook it today. Just heat up whatever you had yesterday.
True freedom is doing what you want to do.
Sure, but they more have the monk of doing nothing freedom for one day.
Mm-hmm.
Just be bored kind of thing. Or
Okay.
just whatever.
So
okay.
Nerev.
Okay. The Erev, there's restrictions in your home to just be doing nothing. It's a mindfulness of doing nothing, But like you said, it became this thing that the home was like, what was the definition of home? So is it just in the apartment walls? People live sometimes on top of each other. They need more space to do nothing. So we defined emotionally, and we allowed that. It's symbolic. It isn't, you can do stuff without an Erev, but we put a string around a greater perimeter of the home. Let's say we define home as the community in which religious
extending
people,
out of
so that you can do nothing in that whole space. It's not a wall. The reason it's just a string is just to note it.
But it's also not just doing nothing. It's allowing a person to do things that they're not allowed to do unless the Erev is there.
Right, like picking up your child, right? It's like, oh, you're in your home. You can pick up your child. You can do. I'm just saying it extends, yes, exactly what you would do in your home to define a greater perimeter of your home.
So when you're outside and you're meeting your neighbor, you can now push a stroller.
Yes.
Right? Which you're not allowed to do. And so but it's a boundary that is...
It's symbolic.
Well, okay, but it's a specific... There's a boundary. You can't just walk away.
You can do it.
I mean,
there's not going to be a punishment if you do it.
You know what I'm saying, though.
I do, but I'm saying, but the can't is self-imposed. It's like people on a diet. You can eat something. You really shouldn't.
Sure. But so in order to be, lead as...
people
pure?
break these.
Is that the right word?
People break it all the time. Some kids don't want to do it. Some people do it. I mean... obviously it's like, well, do you want to live do you want to live as purely as possible, as religious? Sure, but some people don't. Some people don't give a fuck. They want to go have a smoke or whatever they're doing. Yeah. People do it. It really is up to
is specifically for people who
want to stay within that control, and they want to stay within the practice. They want to do the practice.
But it's symbolic, but it's an imaginary boundary.
It is an imaginary boundary. You could pass it. But everything we have is kind of imaginary. It's all symbolic of some way to live your life. For instance, you're saying that the dress has no, early on in this podcast, you said the way they dress is, do you know why a man wears a yarmulke or a hat?
Because God, to show subservience to God,
to anyone. You're not bigger than anyone else. You're not better than your neighbor. There's always something higher than you. There's always something higher to you. So for them, when they put on the yarmulke in the morning, they live in mindfulness where it's like, my neighbor, I'm not better than my neighbor. I'm not better. There's something always higher than you. Yes, God, but yes, you're not that great. You're not that bad,
if I don't have a yarmulke on, does that mean I'm walking around thinking I'm all that?
You do. Yes, there's a lot of egomaniac. The ego is totally unchecked in the secular world day to day. And there are a lot of men walking around that way, and we have severe, I would say, greed and things that force you to do that. And I think that having a mindfulness about not being better than anyone every day is not practice.
Well, I see. I think it's easy to throw on a hat, put on a yarmulke, and and if people are truly applying that, they probably don't need the yarmulke, but it's a reminder. But you don't need it really if you.
Sure.
But
and some people don't wear it. There are Orthodox Jews who take it off. Or some only wear it in a house. Some wear it in a house. I mean, I know.
So, but yeah, my point is, it's
but many do want it.
Symbolic, ritualistic costumes, like any religion has.
Yeah, like what does your tattoo mean? Is there anything symbolic there?
Oh, it's a whole tableau. It's my idea of religion, how religion works.
Okay, so it's symbolic of that. You don't need this on your body every day to know how your idea of religion works.
No, but it's artful.
They think it's artful too. It's handmade. It's wool. It's 100% Eastern European. It's hand stitched. Their clothing is all tailored. It's beautiful.
Kippah, I did.
So I'm just saying that there are.
It's artful. It's hand stitched.
It's impossible. Once you get on this, I can go on forever.
Clearly, it's been 45 minutes. I haven't even talked about.
I know. I'm way
your
too
stand-up.
chatty. Well, why don't you get into my stand-up?
Because you won't shut up.
I don't shut up. I have issues. I know. I really talk too much.
So you are quite literally the first person I've had on the podcast that I don't have a prior relationship with. I don't know.
Same.
You know. Same.
Like, I didn't know you. I asked how many listeners he has. Is this worth doing or not? Literally.
Wow. That's rude.
No, it's not.
Sure it is.
Where we haven't crossed paths in stand-up.
Doing? Whether it's worth doing.
Because it's like, oh, you have to get up super early. I said, could we do 1 o'clock? Oh, Mr. So I say, he's so busy. What's he doing? I said, okay, so I'll come 10:30. He's not even
Judgment.
here. No, he's not even here 10:30. Am I not here 10 o'clock? Waiting for him. Okay. I said, does it have any listener? Because I tend to say yes to everything, but I'm starting to get in the mood that like not everything is worth everything. Like I don't have to do everything.
That's totally true. And I'm kind of giving you shit because I'm on the other end of that, but I do the same thing.
Okay, so I needed to know, like, are you going to help me or not? I'd love if you did, but if you don't, it's okay.
Okay. Well, if it's okay, why'd you bring it up in the first place?
You asked me. Okay, go ahead. You didn't know me. I said I didn't know you, and that hurt your feelings. So I can't. You said you didn't know me.
That's not what hurt my feelings. The fact that you don't know me. No, you're like, is it worth doing?
Is it worth doing? But I'm saying many people want a lot of our time.
I was exaggerating for comic effect.
Don't the people want a lot of your time?
Well, I mean, I have family and a puppy.
But even business-wise, don't you get asked to do so many things, and you have to look into it?
Yeah. No, I'm just
self-preservation.
I get what you're saying, and I felt the same thing.
I'm so happy to be here, David. You have no idea.
I don't have any idea.
I'm telling you right now.
I really don't. I don't think I'll ever have a.
I think this is the start of a budding friendship.
Okay. Really I saw your. I wasn't familiar with you, but I saw your stand up on the Netflix, whatever that was. Like
verified.
What was it?
Netflix verified. It's kind of their new faces or their up and coming.
Right. Half of which the comedians were really great, and the other half were like, eh.
I hear you. I agree.
But I thought you were everything that I like in a comic. You're really a unique perspective, really funny, self-deprecating, and fucking ballsy as shit.
Thank
like,
you. I
really, and you don't, when you see a comic at that stage, you don't necessarily immediately go to like, wow, I wonder how they worked out. I wonder where they first started. But I watched you and was getting distracted by imagining like, man, you must have had some fucking tough sets in at certain points, as every comic does, everyone. Right. But it's just ballsy.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Check out my Netflix set, Netflix verified.
And this is I'm one of the top 300 stand-ups in the Eastern United States.
Yeah, so. I believe it. No, this is high praise. And if you want to see me live, you can follow me on Instagram at Robby Hoffman. I try and post my dates as often as possible. And you can also listen to my podcast, the Too Far Pod, which the New York Times calls addictive.
What is it? What is it called?
Too Far Pod.
Too Far.
Yeah, Too Far. We're going. Like, I'm talking about whatever the hell we need to talk about.
Okay.
And voted top 20 podcast by The Atlantic.
by the Atlantic.
So you can check that out as well. Perfect time to plug. I will say this, that my early...
A lot of Jew-run media being fucking bandied about by this
There
one.
we go. Not Hasidic run, though. Otherwise, I'd be here quicker. But I will say that I started early. It was this kind of thing. I started in Montreal for about a year, and then I really came up in Toronto, which I worked out, which was great for me. Obviously, I don't know anything else, but what was interesting in Montreal, I think what the hardest thing was the lack of support from the community, from the comedy community. The comedy community was kind of stale there and kind of like older, and they had this like massive festival there, but it wasn't attached to the local scene in any which way. So there was a lot of resentment about that like we have this like international festival, but like there's no locals in the festival. There's only a few local shows. Montreal's is such a small. But many people talked to me. Many older people said, it takes 10 years to be good, 10 years, to find your voice. Many people, early stand-ups, finding your voice. And for me, I really had the opposite. I had my voice first. I really didn't know much about stand-up, but anything I said was kind of in my perspective, and it felt new. And so I had the voice first, and then content kind of came after. So I kind of wasn't able to fit into that, like, 10 years to find your voice, but everybody was telling me you have such a unique voice.
Yeah, that's
so
interesting.
I'm going like...
10 years is just that's
it's
arbitrary.
Crazy.
And
yeah,
that's
it's
not a real
people
thing.
who haven't made it in 10 years are telling you it takes 10 years. It's always the case, because
then you come back a year later, it's actually 11 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think a lot of these guys had resentment. So I would win something like a best of open mic, which was a competition that was happening at the Comedy Works in Montreal. It was like the one real club you could do.
Is Jimbo's up?
Yeah, so that was
is that
Jimbo's.
Still there?
Yeah, no, it's not. So
I love that place.
That was the best of open mic. So I would win that night.
Yeah.
Yet they wouldn't book it was just impossible. So then I moved to Toronto, and Toronto really embraced me.
Toronto's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
It was amazing. It was amazing, and I really got to come into my own. Like we're being like getting to work on. Okay, I have the voice. Getting to work on stuff. Yeah. So that was the hardest part for me. Was kind of having to suck up to like. There was this guy who would give me tags and stuff. He was doing the same he was just
unsolicited
he was
advice
brutal.
and tags.
He would make me hang out to get a spot. Listen, I'm 24 years old. It's this guy, Paul Lash. He was just insanely bad. You can't imagine.
But he ran some rooms?
Yeah, he ran rooms, but in order to do the rooms, you had to hang out. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to hang out with these 50-year-old guys. Like, why do I have to hang out? Like, well, I have school. Like, there was things that, like, it just didn't make any sense that I had to, like, hang out. Like, I'm not friends with, like, I had my own girlfriends and I had friends. And I remember one great story that happened was my brother, who's autistic, and bleep his name because we don't even talk about it, but we're all probably on the spectrum. But he's severely, and he has this friend. They went to a special school together and whatever. And my mother said, he really likes comedy. Why don't you take him to a show, whatever? I said, you want to come to a show? I'd love to. He ordered a beer with his friend. He's, so happy to be, because he's only a year and a half younger than me, but people thought he was much younger because of the way that he is. And my brother and his friend are having such a good time. They got a picture. He's getting drunk. I'm taking him home. It's like he's loving it. And it's a little bar show. And then after the show, he goes, everybody could see that, when you speak to him, something's off. Yeah. So after the show, he's going to leave. And the woman who was giving the tickets at the door, she goes, do you like the show? He goes, Robby Hoffman is the best. My little brother. He's like, she's the best. Like, she's so funny. She's so funny. He goes, but you know who sucked? Because he goes, that host is terrible. And the host, this guy, Paul, is married to the ticket girl. Oh, so I see this in the corner of my eye going on like, oh no, there's no way to stop my brother. I can't tell him he's wrong. He doesn't, it's like punishing a dog. Like you wouldn't. So, and he goes, he was really bad. He really needs to stop. And then his friends agree, oh yeah. And then she goes, she tries to belittle my brother. Maybe you didn't understand. He goes, no, I understood. It was like he doubled down. It was one of those things that at the time I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. And then as time went on, what a blessing, what a fun.
Yeah.
I never said anything bad to my brother. And the whole subway ride home, he was like, he is terrible. He couldn't get over it.
Maybe his wife
They're divorced
felt,
now.
yeah, maybe his wife felt that way and was kind of like, well, I'm glad somebody finally said it.
And this guy would like make me hang out, would talk to me about my bits.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like,
Every city had one of those guys. And,
so insane.
you know,
We had a lot of them.
yeah. Well, yes, there are more than one, but there's at least one.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
every
We're not hanging out.
scene.
Book me on my merit.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a comedy booker, here's a tape. Book me or don't. I don't want to have a beer. I'm not bringing all this money out. It's insane. I'm supposed to spend $40 to do 4 minutes? Calm down.
Yeah, pay to play.
No.
Pay to play.
No, I'm
That's
not
how it used to be
drinking
at
with you guys because you're lonely. I have friends, and they're not you.
Yeah. And then when did you move to New York?
And then I moved to LA,
Oh,
and then I got a job. To call it a late night show is really an overstatement, but on the Chris Gethard Show on True TV.
yeah. Yeah. Wait, what was that?
It was like years ago. So that's when I came back to New York for a couple of years. So maybe 2018. But I was still living in LA, and I do live in LA. I'm just back and forth a bit. You know how it is.
I do, but but yeah, like I live here now.
Yeah.
And I'm in LA for work, but I try not to, I don't care for Los Angeles.
I like LA quite a bit. I mean, they're both dumps for different reasons. But yeah, I like having my own car, my girl in the car, riding the subway and somebody's wiping their nose to me. No, I like to, I don't know. And I never get over a beautiful day. Okay. And when I walk outside, I go, it's a beautiful day.
Where do you live in LA?
I live in Echo Park.
And I spent 9.5 years in when I was living there in Los Feliz and Silver Lake.
It's very dark, Los Feliz.
It's what?
It's very dark. It gets less sun, I find.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the trees. They have kind of those East Coast trees there. I'm telling you, I would never live in Los Feliz. I find it very dark.
Are you?
No, I find it very dark.
Okay. And what was the last time you had your vision checked?
No, I get my vision actually pretty regularly because I wear glasses. I have sunglasses. I'm telling you, when you're driving through, there's a depression. There's a depression.
You're talking about like
sunshine.
like
I think it's
Vermont,
very blocked.
or?
Yeah, it's very blocked there.
But
it gets sunny again in the hills, in the Hollywood Hills. And then
wait, what
Silver
part of
Lake.
Los Feliz, which is a small area,
like
are you talking
Franklin, all those places, very dark.
Okay.
It's very dark. I'm
All
telling
right,
you.
so
I want an ecologist or somebody who works in such a field to do a study, a topographic or like of the areas that get more sun or less sun.
Well, certainly Echo Park gets a lot of sun. And
Gets a lot of sun.
Yeah, and too much sun.
No. I like a sun. If I'm there for sun, give me sun.
Yeah, I don't care for the weather in Los Angeles. There are the winter is quite nice there when the Santa Anas blow through.
Yeah,
or
where are
you
you
get
from originally?
Atlanta.
Oh.
Yeah.
I love Georgia. I love the weather in Georgia, but I like humidity.
Oh, so do I. I have no problem with like the what they're calling a heat wave, and I think it's supposed to get hotter, but like so far it's been fine.
It's been really nice.
It doesn't bother me
There's
at all.
nothing better than New York in the summer.
New York in the spring.
Oh,
you don't like New York in spring?
No, I do. I like them both.
It's great.
I like them both.
It's one of the very few. It's really one of the very few times when New York smells okay. Is the spring, and it's
New York
and you
is
forget.
really. It's
in the
really
summer, it
too much
stinks.
of a dump. It's inexcusable at this point.
Well, I agree with that. I think, like I was bummed out to hear that the congestion pricing thing fell through, or
I don't know what that
governor.
is.
So what they were going to do what a number of European cities do, where there's a certain part of Manhattan. I think it's from Midtown down to I think Battery Park. I'm not sure, but when you come in during certain hours, you're charged extra money.
No, I don't like any of that.
I love that because...
No. I don't like...
Can I explain?
Yeah, well, fine. I'm already so upset by this that I can barely let you talk, but
It's
I have
for
to.
rich people who live in the outer boroughs who all take their own cars in.
Okay,
I think
so
you might be a little
explain.
more for it.
But wait.
David, explain.
Oh, because I like the rich.
No, no, for the pricing.
Yeah.
Let me explain how it's been successful in other cities that also fought. Initially people fought back, and now they all love it. But the money, the extra money, only goes to improving the MTA, improving subways and buses. Oh, that's it. That's where all the money goes to. The other thing is that there are less cars on the street, which is a good thing because, especially with commercial traffic and double parking and stuff, these streets are not made for big, wide trucks. Yeah. They were built for horses. And and the idea that the rich people can afford it. So all those things considered, less traffic, and the money goes into.
Can I explain?
Really
Can we talk
needed,
about the money for a second? Something that really, really infuriates me is the fact that there's any premium on something like public transit. We raise more than enough tax dollars, and I think we should raise more by taxing the rich properly, and ending the loopholes and everything else about corporations being able to identify as people and whatever nonsense we have going on.
That.
It is, we are so normalized to the fact that we have privatized public, like the fact that you even buy a ticket, the public transit should
100%
be
with
100% free. If it is not free, and there's more than enough money to do it if people aren't stealing the money from within the systems that collect the money.
But also where with each mayoral administration, taking money from one thing and giving it to the cops, say,
exactly.
Giving cops an extra $1 billion.
But I think most of it is the sucking from the bloating, the political bloating that we have going on, or the administrative bloating that we have going on, where everybody is grabbing their salary and it adds up.
That's part of it. Yeah.
Beyond that, okay, it's not free. It's not $1 a ride. It's $3 a ride. Okay. Plus, what is a monthly cost now?
I don't know. Well, with Omni, it's 30. You get
34 a week.
34
right?
a week. Yeah.
So it's about $100 if you buy the pass. Okay. I think they said there was 6 million pass riders. So that's 600.
I don't think that's
600 million.
Quite exactly.
No, 6 million buy like a monthly or something, with some number like that. I think it's about 6 million buy the monthly. So not even the single.
But I don't think it's 100 for the month. But anyway.
It's like 109 last time I bought it. It's something like that. Okay. Let's just round down to 100 for an adult. So now you have 600 million, or do the math, a month that you're getting revenue. That's not even talking about the people who ride single, daily, anything. These are people who just hold the pass. For 600 million a month in privatized, you can't fix it's. And it's probably close to 1 billion a month. Like it probably is close to that.
You're going to get no argument from me.
And so it's so crazy that we're so used to double dipping that taxes are supposed to go to this thing, but also you're going to privately pay for it.
Yeah, I'm with you. But if you said to me I don't
believe the system will work as you mentioned it, because no other system has. This will end up being somehow a way for them to get more money from the rich to go to other rich things. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean,
but
perhaps.
I have no faith.
The idea, yes, the idea was, I think, in part to address that very concern.
Address the concern.
Is that the money would go specifically to
There's
the MTA?
There's enough money. Now let's just there's enough money. Like, we have to just address the concerns
Robby,
that are concerning.
I'm with you. I think this city is poorly managed, has been for a long time, and
I don't vote. I don't recycle. I am done. I do nothing. This is after Bernie. They lost me. Had the DNC come out and said, "We're so embarrassed. We cheated the system. We're sorry." I could take an apology, but to Jew me like that, and there's no acknowledgement, I'm not voting. I'm not going to that fucking COVID-infested school across the street and giving this to that and that to that. I don't do local. I don't do federal. I do nothing. I am just trying to live my life child-free until the day I die, and that is it.
Child-free. is a big part of it.
No, child-free because for them, then I would have to start to think about, but I don't care about your kids. I don't care about anybody's kids anymore. I am done. I used to. I was. It took too much out of me, and you've depleted me, and I can't anymore, and I'm sorry. You ruined me.
Wow. Well, that's a lot on my shoulders.
It's a lot. You have a kid, so you have to think about these things. I vote.
I thought about them before I had a kid because I have family and I have friends who are affected.
I only really
by
care
policies
about Gabby now, and us giving each other the best lives we can give now. We both had really tumultuous childhoods in many ways, and now we get to infantilize each other in a way that feels really nice and cozy and fun. And I'm taking a page from gay men, double income, no kids. I think dykes can learn a little bit from this.
Well, and it seems to free you from responsibility to your fellow.
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, no. Human. I used to feel that, but because my responsibility was taken advantage of by people I trusted, they broke me. There's a repair that needs to happen, and I don't know what that repair is, but you haven't repaired it. Biden did not repair it for me. There's not been repair.
Okay. So, but what if things get like markedly, demonstrably worse for?
I feel it's as worse as.
You don't think it can get worse?
I do think it can. But
and you don't want to prevent that.
But does it need to get worse?
I don't think I can
for
prevent
it.
I don't believe I can. I think I have nothing to do with it anymore.
Well, you've chosen not to have anything to do with it. It's
no,
not like...
I don't think I have chosen. I think they've let me know that my vote doesn't matter. And I think we're at a place where it's another ruse like anything. Why should I believe that my vote has anything to do with anything when nothing else has anything to do with anything? They have proven time and time again that they've diluted what the vote means. And really, it's about the electoral, and really, it's about money. You know, if the government went back to working for the people instead of corporations and lobbyism, that could be a start to a repair. But right now,
what about locally? What about in small?
First of all, you don't want me voting locally because I see anything to do with kids or schools, I'm a no. Okay, so people actually don't want me. I get the school out of here. I don't care. I don't need to be woken up by the bell after I had 3 shows the night before. I got a 7:30 a.m. bell across the street. It's ridiculous. Get in the class.
Why don't you move?
I know, because I have such a good rent control. You can't imagine my place.
All right. Robby, I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to give you this God on Film Blockbuster Lessons for Biblical Learning.
Thank you.
Living.
I can't wait.
The Journey Church. There's uplifting music.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
They spell kids with a Z, so that's fun. Kids love that.
That's fun.
Kids love it when they get to purposely misspell things. I'm going to give you that. You can have the soft and chewy. Now, I close every show with a question.
Please.
This is going to be interesting because of the last 2 minutes, your monologue on...
Listen, by the way, I am not an example. So do not listen to, I am an example for 0 people.
Yeah. So I know. I'm with you, phony. So I ask a question from my daughter, Marlo.
Great. How old is she?
7.
Oh, cute.
Some of these questions were when she was 6, but
That's
okay. And you answer the however you see fit.
Great.
All right. So the question to you, Robby Hoffman.
Robby Hoffman on Instagram. My question to you, Robby Hoffman on Instagram.
My question to you, Robby Hoffman on Instagram, from Marlo. When was the Tooth Fairy born?
I feel like she's kind of... Maybe she's a 1920s girl. I don't know. I feel like she came about like during the fairy tale. What was his name who made all the fairy tales?
Hans Christian Andersen?
No.
Oh, the Brothers Grimm?
Yeah, like the Grimm fairy tales.
Okay.
The Grimm, Grimms or whatever.
The Brothers Grimm.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yes.
I think she was probably born then.
Are you thinking Mother Goose?
Like whenever fairy, like when was like the original Snow White?
I think that's Old Testament.
No, the
Yeah,
original
no, I
Snow
think that's
White. No, the
in
Disney
Exodus.
version. When did they make this?
Well, probably
Like when Dumbo,
40s,
badly-
50s.
yeah, the 40s, maybe the 40s, and the Tooth Fairy was born.
So you're just giving a decade.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I don't think they had the Tooth Fairy before that. I'd be very surprised.
No, I just thought it'd be more specific, but you're just saying in somewhere in the 50s. The Tooth Fairy was born.
I think
in
the
40s.
40s.
The 40s.
I think when Dumbo came out.
1940s. Okay.
Yeah, probably the 40s or Jungle Book. Whenever these original, and I would encourage your daughter to look up when did Dumbo. When did
I don't have
all
her
these
on
stories-
because she's not going to look anything up
Well,
for quite a while.
you don't have the encyclopedia at home. We had the world books at home.
No, we did not. We do not.
Oh,
have
you
the-
don't? Well,
we
we
don't have
looked
the.
That was my internet growing up. My mother would be
Mm-hmm.
like, "Why don't you do the world book?" I'm like, "Ma," like we had the childcraft books too. Like, I'm so bored, Ma. There's nothing to do. She'd be like, "Why don't you take the childcraft?" And I would, sure enough. I'm like, "Oh."
But you grew up in Montreal. Is that not a kid friendly?
No, it is. But my mother was a reader. We still didn't, even in my house, it was very similar to how we grew up here. It's not like we had suddenly a million things to do. We did no extracurricular activities. I was very good at art as a kid. And for a long time, I thought I would be like a portrait artist. I did very well in high school and stuff like that. And I remember the teacher.
We're done.
No, we're almost done right after the story. The teacher spoke to my mother and said, Rivka is really into art. She really responds well to the class. We do a once a week extracurricular. I teach it myself. My mother was like, "How much is it?" And then I think it was like literally $30 extra the year. Like, I don't even know. And my mother was like, "We're happy with the art program just the way it is. Thank you." We never paid for anything extra, never did anything extra.
Yeah.
You're bored, pick up the childcraft. Go
Well,
outside.
you turned out okay. I mean, you're a bit
okay is relative, but yes.
a bit of a misanthrope. But
What does that mean?
you like hating, like just no.
So positive.
Kids
What kind
and
of a thing is this?
kids in the world in America.
What do you mean? I love a beautiful day.
You love a beautiful day. All right.
And a good day to you.
All right, Robby, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate it. I'm sorry I was a couple minutes late. I'm sorry you were 30 minutes early.
Yeah.
That things happen.
I heard you were on tight schedule. I said,
I
okay.
was on a tight. I still am. I need to get the fuck out of here and get home.
He has to get out of here to go home.
I have a podcast to do.
Whose podcast?
It's for, I want to say Entrepreneur Magazine, but it's like a live thing. Oh shit! I got to do those
Ads. Yeah.
fudge.
Okay, goodbye.
That was a Headgum podcast.